the Business and Growth Podcast. I am your host, Catherine Aragon, and today we're talking about how to future-proof your marketing. If you tuned into last week's podcast, you know the game has changed. The strategies we've relied on for more than a decade no longer work. Organic social reach is dying. SEO no longer guarantees traffic. Algorithms decide whether your content gets seen. AI is flooding the market with content, and consumer trust is at an all-time low. But there is some good news amid all of this. While marketing is undergoing massive disruption, the core principles of business have never changed. Brands that adapt now will win the next decade. I can promise you that. So the question is, how do you future-proof your marketing and ensure your business thrives in this new era? I've got 5 steps for you today that will at least get us started. So let's dive in. Step 1 is to build an authority ecosystem. And this is your own distribution center. For years, marketers have been told, don't build on rented land. The idea was to prioritize your own platform, basically your website or your blog, instead of relying on social media. But today, even Google is rented land. Search algorithms change, social platforms throttle reach, and even email deliverability is at the mercy of spam filters and regulations. The only thing you have control over are owned or semi-owned channels that you can say what you want in. This is an authority ecosystem. And instead of relying on one channel, and especially a platform that someone else owns, you're going to create your own collection of channels, authority channels that make you essentially algorithm proof. So for instance, you might have your newsletter. Well, I'm going to say you must have your newsletter. And here's why. The collection is you want a newsletter somewhere where you can connect directly with your audience. You want a media channel. You want audio, video. And this can be a podcast, a YouTube channel, or a video series. It can be any kind of, it can be one of them, it can be all of them. But you need a different format for your content because, let's face it, your newsletter is text. And today, people are engaging more and remembering the message more when it's delivered in an audio or video way. For instance, studies have shown that viewers retain 95% of a video message compared to 10% of text. I'm a reader and I don't read everything anymore. I scan. Listen, you need, as well as your newsletter, you need some kind of a media channel. Third, you definitely need a social media presence. And this, I would say, be where your audience is. If you're B2B, I would say start with LinkedIn. If you're B2C or e-commerce, I would say start with Instagram. But regardless of what it is, you need to be where your audience is, and you need to be present, if possible, daily. And this is important because the social media platform, that channel, you're working with an algorithm. You do have to play nice with it. So here, you're going to be able to talk about your ideas, recycle your ideas, but you can't control the algorithm. So think about sharing those ideas. Don't focus on you're not trying to drive traffic. You're just looking for another place to publish your ideas. And you do it daily because the algorithm expects you to. And you do it with authorities and kind of fun and in a social way, so you stay top of mind. You've got to be a permanent fixture on the channels where your audience hangs out. So make sure you show up and play nice with that algorithm. And then the other part of your ecosystem is strategic partnerships. And this is, we used to do guest posting. That's not as much of a strategy as it used to be. But we are still doing collaborations, guest features, joint ventures, ways of getting on someone else's, in front of someone else's audience. This is a shortcut because you're essentially coming in with the approval of that other person, and it builds instant trust. So your action step for this, building your ecosystem, think about if you disappeared from Google and social media tomorrow, where could your audience still find you? If the answer isn't clear, you need to start building it out. And like I said, there are just 3 elements to this: email, some kind of media channel, and social media presence where your audience is. Then as a bonus, look for strategic partnerships. Okay, that brings us to step 2, which is a shift from funnel thinking to an omnipresent thinking. Marketing used to be linear. You captured a lead, you nurtured them through a funnel, and you converted them. Today, it's too chaotic for that to work. First of all, nobody wants to give you their email to download your lead magnet to get into your funnel. Funnels are flawed already. They're because you can't get people into them. Also, we've got multiple touch points. Like it or not, nobody is visiting your website just for the fun of it. They only go there when they need an answer, they're trying to figure out who you are, or they're considering you for a purchase. Otherwise, they're staying away from your website. So that's why we use social media, right? We're trying to be in front of our audience. And as a result, especially if you're doing the ecosystem right, you've got dozens of touch points, channels where people can find you. And people are bouncing from one of these to another. They may see 5 messages from you, and not a single one of them is on the same platform as another. They don't follow a funnel, which is why you're going to build familiarity simply by being omnipresent. This is the old 7 touches and then they trust you concept. Lean into this. Be everywhere, everywhere that you can be and still maintain high quality, because that matters too, as we'll see in a minute. But see, omnipresence is critical. Instead of treating marketing like a funnel, we need to think of it as a network of brand touch points. I like to think of a spider web. Now, if I walk outside of my house and there's this giant spider web on the front porch, which I have done before, the spider web that's more complex, that has more touch points where the strands of the web touch and intersect, the better the web. Not only is it prettier to look at, it catches more flies. A spider web that's flimsy, halfway built, maybe it's old and some of the strands have broken, it's not catching flies anymore. It's not working. The more touch points, the more memorable your brand, the better of a net you've got to catch people. So what are the rules around this? How do you build an omnipresence online? First of all, you have to be where your customers are. And really, largely, all of this is just a mindset shift. You know all this stuff, but just do it because it's more important now than ever. Instead of forcing people to visit your website, just show up where they are. Share your message there. And ideally, it won't just be social media platforms. You're going to build an ecosystem where people can find you and engage with you. You do want to leverage multiple content formats. Remember, email is text. What are you doing and how are you sharing audio or video content or graphics? Think outside the box. Make it creative. And then prioritize discoverability over conversion, especially top of funnel. Don't try to mix it up too hard. Not every post needs a hard CTA. The goal is to be seen, heard, and remembered, especially on social media. The rule on social media is be social. Don't be the hard salesperson who's there trying to shake everyone's hands and make a deal. You can ask for action without always making it about conversion. Now, your action step for step 2 is to audit your marketing. Are you showing up in multiple places and are you doing it well? If not, pick the channel where your audience already is and start building a presence there. Maybe you already are there, you just aren't a presence yet. Make yourself a presence. That brings us to step 3, customer first growth. And I call this the CX advantage. CX meaning customer experience. To me, customer experience is pivotal today. AI and automation are creating efficiencies for brands, but they are very bad for the human experience, for us as humans. Recently, I had an issue with my computer. And yes, it was a PC. I'm so sorry. Don't make fun of me. But I didn't see the reason to leave. I knew the keystrokes. It was working well for me until it wasn't. And the newest update wouldn't allow me to log into my computer without a verification email. And that email was not being delivered because I had an outdated email on the system. But when I called to fix it, when I called for assistance, I found myself in an automation loop. There was never access to a human to fix this problem, which meant I had a computer with my entire business on it, and I couldn't even log in. Well, needless to say, they lost me as a customer. That very afternoon, I shut down the computer, went to the Apple Store, and bought myself a Mac. And I will say, you were right, it is a better experience. I'm so much happier. But that's the point, isn't it? When I became unhappy enough, I left the brand, and I promise you I will never go back. That's how people talk about your brand. Either you're the brand that solved the problem or you're the brand that caused the problem. You don't want to be that one. With brands tapping into bots and AI, customer experience is the last great differentiator. Just being human is vitally important. Consumers want seamless, enjoyable experiences with the brands they buy from, so we have to be hyper conscious of that. We can easily stand out simply by making it effortless to buy. So how do we win with CX marketing? The idea is to simplify the path to purchase. Now, I'm not talking about a funnel here where if you give me your email, I'm going to try to sell you this thing, and then I'm going to try to sell you this thing. Notice how transactional that is. That's what people are sick of. AI, automation, where there's not a human who cares about my problem. Funnels, where again, you're just treating me like a dollar sign. All you want is my money. We can't do that anymore. We can't simply be transactional. We've got to be more human. That means thinking like your customer. What do they need to know to make a good buying decision? What do they need to know to put you on the short list? Are you giving them the information they need? Or are you still trying to manipulate and game the system and get more from them than you're delivering? Listen, this is the core of this CX issue. You've got to recognize that we are in a symbiotic relationship with our customers. We get something only if they get something. Sure, you can sell to them one time and not give them success, and they'll never buy from you again. Great. But if you want to keep them long term, if you want to stop churn, if you want a customer for life, make them successful. When you make them successful, they will keep giving you their money, which makes you successful. They will refer you, which makes you successful. And they will share in a podcast. That computer didn't work, but this one does. Listen, the customer experience matters. The word gets out. Simplify. Think like a human. Invest in personalization as much as you can. Some of the tools that allow us to do that are still pretty expensive, but there are simple ways we can personalize for everybody, no matter how big our business is or how big our budget is. AI-powered insights let you tailor experiences at scale. So wherever possible, create an experience that's different, that's better. And remember, it's got to be human. And finally, build community and engagement. A lot of people, a lot of my friends out there are building actual brand communities and VIP groups and interactive content and all this stuff. But you know, if you can't do that, at least Be engaged on your social media channels. Remember, that's part of your ecosystem. Be present, be engaging, make friends. That's what it's all about. And it does create a meaningful experience, which makes you memorable. Your action step for this is to map out your customer journey. Where do people get stuck? Where do they drop off? Where can you remove friction or add a more personal touch? Step 4, you want to create content moats, not content farms. The internet is flooded with content. You know this, I know this. The problem is most of it is very low quality because AI makes it so easy for every brand to churn out endless blog posts, tweets, videos. But the problem is AI content is often bland and predictable and repetitive. Why? Because it's learning from stuff that's already been published, recycling it, maybe a little bit of branding thrown in. It's the same content with a different label on it. And quality content, unique ideas that only you can present, that's your moat. So what does that mean? How does this impact your content strategy? Well, first of all, deep expertise will beat generic SEO content every day. So if you're creating SEO content, make sure you implement Google's EAT, E-E-A-T, which is expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. Share depth. Go deep, not broad. The other side of it, and I think this is really important because I'm encouraging you, okay, fine, you want to do SEO content, do SEO content. Look for a few keywords, but your best ideas, there may not be a keyword for it because you've invented it and it's too new of an idea. I will lay money, I will lay down an investment on that original idea that hasn't picked up yet, more than I will another how to write a blog post or how to do content marketing or what does this mean? Those kinds of generic answers, all of that content has been assimilated by Google. And Google is itself an AI tool. Keep that in mind. Whereas now you can go to ChatGPT and say, what is content marketing? Guess what? When you say that to Google, Google doesn't send you to an article. It answers the question. It's using your content to build its own AI tool. What does that mean? SEO is not going to ever be as valuable as it used to be because Google is going to use your answer and not reward you with traffic. So stop worrying about traffic in the same way. We do worry about traffic, but it's going to be different. And I will talk more about that in other episodes of the Business and Growth podcast. But for today, just remember, SEO is not as valuable as deep expertise. So aim for depth. Aim for unique insights that only you can create. That will win the game for you. Second, long-form value is going to beat short-form clickbait. Now, that doesn't mean that I've got the long article on my blog post and I do a bunch of short pieces related to it on social media, because that is how you do it, right? But thought leadership isn't about quick dopamine hits. It's about ideas that shape the industry. We're going for depth, not clickbait. Don't force traffic by getting cutesy or clever or ridiculous, and don't lie on your headline. I mean, this is like 10 years ago, we were talking about clickbait and how bad it was for the industry and for your brand. But listen, all the more, I think as traffic gets harder to manage and harder to generate, we're going to fall into some bad habits as we try to find a workaround. My solution is completely unrelated to everything we've done before, because everything we've done before was based on tactics that were invented when the internet was brand new. Of course they worked back then. They will not work in the future. They will not, they're not working today. So we're going to do things differently. Don't game the system. All the algorithms are designed to keep you from gaming the system. Don't aim for traffic in the same way you used to. Take your authority off your website. Be omnipresent and always add value. That means you may be creating less content. We'll talk about that in a minute. But here's the third thing I want you to remember here. Remember deep expertise, long form, deep value, and consistent storytelling. That's going to beat trend chasing anyway. The best brands don't just follow trends, they create them. That's why there's not a keyword for your core idea, your brilliant idea. So put it out there and create the keyword. Make it worth following. But you do that by going deep, not hacking the system. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to audit your content strategy. Are you creating content that truly adds value? Or are you just filling the internet with more noise? Listen, I would rather you publish one article a month that's worth reading than a whole bunch of junk articles. I think your audience would too. Okay, our final step is to own your brand. And in particular, own your message. One of the biggest shifts that's happening now is the return of brand-driven marketing. For the last 10 or more years, businesses have we've relied on performance marketing, SEO, social algorithms to drive leads. And again, we wanted leads and I guess we wanted traffic and then leads because we had this little funnel mentality. But none of that is working anymore. Now, organic reach is shrinking. Paid ads are more expensive. AI content is everywhere. And brands that stand out will have a clear, compelling identity. So you need to build an unforgettable brand. How do you do that? I'm glad you asked, because you're going to clarify your core narrative. And this takes time. Listen, I've been working on this for a decade, and I finally feel like I'm getting somewhere because before, I think I was so focused on what I was delivering. I wasn't thinking strategically enough, and that's what I want you to do. Stop thinking about, I create this product. I sell this thing. What do you stand for? What's your mission? What's the one big idea that you're going to be known for? That's your core narrative. That's what you're looking for. You also need to be the face of your brand. And this is going to be more and more important as AI can replicate us and take the work out of creating this kind of content right here. Listen, people don't trust faceless companies. And I think in 5 years' time, maybe in 2 years' time, they're not going to trust that AI video because I don't know who created it. Is it really, like you watching me right now, is it really me or is it a robot? Well, I'm going to tell you how you can know. First of all, I have this little thing where I have word recall issues. And every now and then you'll see me thinking, wait a minute, what's the right word? Can I get it quick enough so I don't sound stupid? That's the real me. That's my human element. That's the little flaw that actually differentiates me from a robot. The other thing I have is essential tremors. You can see them if you're on the video. Yeah. Listen, that's a tell. I'm a human with issues, and I'm not afraid to let you see them. That's the key. I think so many times we're afraid to be the face of our brand because we don't like our face. We don't like the way we look or the way we sound. Someone may have a burn on their face. Someone may have tremors. Someone may have an accent, and they're afraid to be seen for who they are. Listen, you are you. You are your brand, and people trust that, flaws and all, more than they trust that automated something out there or that faceless company where I can't talk to a human at all. Listen, we are leaving that behind. We as consumers, you know this. As a consumer, you don't like that. Why would you do it in your brand? People trust humans. Step into the spotlight. Let the lights light you up, and lean into personal branding. It will make a difference. And it's funny, you get more comfortable with your flaws if you just go ahead and run with it. Don't try to cover them up, be you. Finally, create a signature content series. With me, business and growth was when I started my book club. I had just written a course on how to write an authority book. I thought, let's do it. And just pulling two things that I love out of the hat. I called it the Business and Growth Podcast. Not podcast. No, that's what this is. The Business and Growth Book Club. And the reason I did that is because I think, no matter where I am in my life or what I'm doing, I'm going to care about those two things. I love business strategy, and I am all about growth, whether it be your personal brand, you as a human, or whether it be your business. Growth is everything. We must never stand still. We must always be moving forward. So recently, when I wanted to start my podcast and my newsletter, I decided, you know what? Let's run with my brand, Business and Growth. This is my media outlet. And I've just named all of them the same thing. So you are listening today to the Business and Growth Podcast. I have a Business and Growth newsletter, which is part of my authority ecosystem. And I have the Business and Growth Book Club. If you so desire, come and read along with me. We don't meet, we just read the same books at the same time. But these are things that help you get to know me. You need something that people can associate with you. So your action step is, think about this. If somebody Googles your name or your company, what's the first impression they get? If it is not clear, start shaping your brand narrative. So let's wind things up with this. The future belongs to marketers who adapt. Marketing is entering a new era. We will not see cheap traffic, predictable funnels, and short-term hacks. None of that is working. The way we market today is looking more and more like it did before the internet, when we were all doing the same things, when there were gatekeepers, when everything was pay to play. We are almost all the way there. It's already relatively pay to play. Algorithms are the new gatekeepers. We have to adapt, and I'm telling you how to adapt. I have been studying this for years, and I have been working on what works, applying it to my own brand, my clients' brands, and I've been seeing success. So I'm going to share with you what you need to focus on, okay? And these are the 5 steps that we just covered. You need to build an authority ecosystem instead of relying on just one channel like your website. You need to show up everywhere your audience is instead of forcing those website visits. You need to focus on customer-first growth instead of just lead gen. You need to create high-quality, differentiated content instead of mass-producing AI noise, because that is what it is. And you need to invest in brand building instead of chasing quick wins. The digital renaissance is here. The question is, will you adapt or will you get left behind? In the next few episodes, I am going to talk a lot more about these shifts that are taking place and the solutions, what we need to be doing to turn things around. I've got some exciting ideas for you, and I really can't wait to share them with you. So stay tuned. And until then, stay awesome.